But I have joining me via Skype back to business, the former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and also Foreign Affairs, and is the chairman of the Nigerian Natural Resource Charter and NRC's Expert Advisory Panel, Mr. Ajumogobia. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I want to start with the issue of deregulation of the downstream of the oil and gas sector. It's now in the front burner, talking about issues we see with price of crude oil. What do you think about this? Is it time we take this kind of decision?
Well, it's been on the front burner for more than 30 years, since Nigeria last wasn't importing refined products. There was a time when we were not importing refined products. We were using products from our refineries. This is not a new issue, and I'm glad that we have once again announced the decision not to subsidize PMS in particular. It's easy to make that decision at this time because the price of oil is at an all-time low. The last I checked, I think yesterday or today, it was just above $30. It has gone down to 20, and it's been projected that it might go down as low as 10. At those prices, there is no subsidy, so there's nothing to subsidize. There's nothing like under recovery. The challenge will be when price of oil goes up, which it will inevitably. We don't know when it will. This is a cycle. I mean, the price of oil has always been cyclical. We've always had valleys and sort of mountains. We've had an oil price that went people have forgotten, in 1999 when President Obasanjo took over, the oil price was about $10, $11. It went up to 16 and then to 20. So this is not the first time we've seen these sort of low oil prices. But I think it's important for the policymakers to be focused on keeping the subsidy regime off our policy.
Now, coronavirus has continued to eat deep into the global economy, bringing oil price, like you identified, to an all-time low. Now, what do you think will happen to the oil market going forward?
Well, as I said in the answering your first question, this is not the first time we've had this cycle of low oil price. What is different about this time is that OPEC, which has always acted as a mechanism to balance the market, has not been able to do so this time. For quite some time now, OPEC has not by itself been able to do that, and they've needed non-OPEC countries, Russia, Oman, Norway, who have typically attended OPEC meetings as observers, to come together and agree on cuts where there is a glut in the market as there is today. This has not worked this time, and so there's this price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, which is atypical of the situation and makes it much worse.
Now, let's now look at the meeting. We expect OPEC and Russia. What are the projections? What are the likely resolutions? And any positives, any goodies for Nigeria in all of this?
Not in the short term. Regardless of what happens at the meeting in Vienna, the market is saturated. People have been selling oil at discounts. People have been storing oil. Most of the global storage is full. People are storing oil on vessels now. And so even if there is a cut in the production, which should affect the price, there's a likelihood that the price will still remain low until all the oil that's in storage is used up. In other words, there isn't going to be a huge demand for oil, regardless of what the meeting does this week.
Let's now look at steps that the country like Nigeria should take to limit the effect of crude oil price volatility. Already the country is struggling to balance its economy one way or the other. Look at figures coming in. So what should be done at this time in straight terms?
You see, the challenge with Nigeria is we've been always wanting to eat our cake and have it. High oil prices are good for the treasury, but they're terrible for the common man because it means high prices at the pump, the petrol pump. petrol is a derivative of crude oil. So if you have a high price, the price of petrol goes up. If you have a low price, the price of petrol comes down. It's interesting that PPPRA on its website indicated sometime in March that the open market price for PMS would have been 83 naira per litre. That was about the time, this was on the 16th of March when I checked. It's interesting that 2 days later, the Minister of State for Petroleum announced a 125 naira price, which was 40 naira higher than the PPPRA indicative price. I don't know what the price should be at $30 per barrel of crude oil, but it certainly should be less than 122 naira 50 kobo that PPPRA indicated. Whatever it is, I think this time highlights the need to focus on what we should always have focused on. And we at the NNRC have been advocating this, that we must try and focus on adding value to crude oil. Crude oil in its natural state has no value whatsoever. It has no use. So it's not efficient or effective to export crude oil and then lament the price of crude that's determined by factors that you have absolutely no control over. What we should be doing is processing our crude, in which case it wouldn't matter what the price is, because you're going to add value in country and export whatever products that you produce. That's what we should do, and this presents us with another opportunity to focus on that, that notion of adding value. Our refineries are not working. I'm glad to hear from the Group Managing Director of NNPC the plan to rehabilitate the refineries and give them to
private operators.
Operator managers. Yes, I mean, that's a paradigm shift from what we've tried to do before, where we've spent lots of money trying to rehabilitate the refineries and then continuing to try and run them and not being able to do so. So this is a new model that I hope will work. But unless we do that, and it's not just refineries, it's lubricants, it's petrochemicals, there's a huge value chain that we are not benefiting from. We basically sell our crude. We talk about petroleum industry. It's not an industry. Basically, we're just crude oil traders. We have to change that, and this gives us an opportunity.
All right, thank you very much there, former Minister of Petroleum and Foreign Affairs, so Dan Ajumogobia. That's what time can take at this time. Thank you for sharing your time with us on Business Nigeria.